This is Rob Chappell.
This is Omar Waheed.
This is Nicholas Garton.
And it's 365 Amplified for Friday, July 4th. Happy birthday, America. 249 years young.
Maybe it's time for this to end.
Are we going to make it to 250?
Well, I have a magic 8 ball. Let's ask it. I don't remember these things being this bad. I got it from SciLife. So it shall be.
Okay. The 8 ball says we're going to survive one more year.
At least.
As a republic.
So.
At least we'll make it to 250, and then we'll see.
We'll see what that survival looks like, but good news is you might be fine.
Might be fine. We've got a few things to talk about in a bit. Marlo Hicks will join us from Wanakee. He's got a gym there that he took over after the pandemic closed the previous one, and they've got a 5-year celebration coming up next weekend. So I talked to him about that. But also, before we get to there, we got a couple of things to talk about. I wanted to mention the story I posted Monday of this week. Who knows what day it is
They'll
anymore.
Together.
I've had them all mixed up all day.
But this past weekend, I went up to the property up in Dodge County, which is Color in the Outdoors headquarters. Christopher Kilgore and his organization up there invited me for the second time to their foraging workshop, which was fantastic. This year, are you guys familiar with Alexis Nikole Nelson?
No.
Instagram people. She's the Black Forager on Instagram. It has like 2 million followers. I had never heard of her either, but she was fantastic. This is the first time she's been part of this foraging workshop they have up there. They do a bunch of stuff up there. They got more stuff coming up. They got a camping 101 coming in August. They're going to do a learn to fish, a learn to hunt in like October, November. So it's a great organization to connect with if you want to be, outdoors. Because our boss, Henry, always tells me when I say I'm going camping this weekend, or I took my kids camping in the winter one time, and he was like, that is the whitest thing you do. And it's not. Anybody can be outside, and that's the whole point of this organization, Color in the Outdoors. They do paddle trips, and they've got this 90-acre property up there with this little pond and what used to be a quarry that has. And I actually went up Friday night and camped out and caught a whole bunch of fish in the little pond, and then we did the foraging, and it was very fun because I have no idea. I don't remember anything because there was just so much. Like we went on a hike there were probably 35 people there. And we made it probably 200 yards in the course of like 4 hours because they kept stopping and saying, "Oh, here's another plant we can talk about. Here's another plant we can talk about." And Sam Thayer and Alexis Nikole Nelson were the leaders of this foraging workshop, and they were just so incredibly knowledgeable, and were throwing out all sorts of scientific things. And the yanka, to me they look like weeds. Like I don't know. Like I'm outdoors all the time, but like a green plant is a green plant to me. And they're like, this is a wild lettuce. And then they would name off the Latin genus and species and say, and then if you peel this leaf this way and then you poach it and then boil it, then you can put it in a stew. And it was just, they have so much knowledge, and I lost most of it. But it was still very fun. And Dexter Patterson was there, got some great pictures for us. So that's up at Madison365.org right now. And the one thing I remember, and I actually carried this over from last year, do you guys know what sumac looks like?
Yeah.
The red little bunches of bulbs. You give that a little squeeze and get the juices flowing out of it, and throw it in a water bottle and fill it with water, shake it up, let it sit for 10 minutes. Beautiful sumac lemonade.
Really?
Yeah. Very refreshing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did it not make your insides itch?
No. And there was a whole like hour-long discussion about parsnip. And parsnip giving you rashes because it's like, everybody thinks wild parsnip is poisonous, and it kind of is, but only in certain circumstances. So, and if you eat it, like once it passes your mouth, like it's no longer dangerous.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely parsnip will give you a rash on your skin in certain circumstances if you're sweaty and if it's, and you get the juice on your skin. But if you eat it, it doesn't It's not a problem.
No, I eat parsnips.
Yeah. Also, mustard greens, like wild mustard. The closer on the leaf or the stem you get to the flowers, the tiny little yellow flowers, it's like wasabi hot.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was a lot of people, like, they were passing this around and everybody was taking a bite and going, ah, and being like, like on the Hot Wings show. People started sweating and going, give me water. But yeah, it was fun and delicious and really, really cool. And if you can stay plugged in, we'll do some more previews of the stuff that Color in the Outdoors has coming up. I might actually go up and help teach the Camping 101 thing, which would be really fun. My kids are very excited about helping out as well. So we'll talk more about that in the future. Another thing that's coming up that we want to mention here in Madison, it's outside of it, you don't have to be outdoorsy to do it, is the Unity Picnic.
Yes.
The 11th annual, which Omar has the preview of, right?
The 11th annual Unity Picnic by the Urban League of Greater Madison is coming up. It's back on its regular schedule for July. Last year, it coincided with the official opening of the Black Business Hub, so they pushed it back. Did kind of a joint thing. Also, help people actually get out there because everyone's excited for the Unity Picnic.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know about the history of the Unity Picnic, which I actually did not, because my only context for it was the Black Business Hub opening.
Right.
It was actually a celebration to welcome the Urban League's current president, Dr. Ruben Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
They asked him what type of event he wanted, and of course they lobbied like something nice at the Monona Terrace.
Something fancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, let's not do that. I want the community to come out to see that we're here to serve them,
Mm-hmm.
and where they can find us, and all that. So they did a Unity Picnic, a community picnic. It was a great hit, and it's been there for 11 years. Everyone loves
Just
it.
keep doing it.
If you haven't been, go. The food is free. The energy is bumping. Everyone's happy. Stuff for the kids. I think they were doing face painting last year, and balloon animals, I'm pretty sure.
Awesome.
So there's stuff for the kids, but also now that the Black Business Hub is open and there's a variety of different shops there, that will also be open. Those businesses plan to be there specifically for the event, increase their hours for coverage there, cool. And you should check out some of them. There's some pretty nifty shops. You can get a haircut, you can get some coffee, or you can get some wine.
And cupcakes at Taylor.
And
Cole,
cupcakes,
right?
yeah. It's an interesting pairing. I think it makes sense, though.
It does.
Yeah.
As, we had her on the show last week, and you just pick your two favorite things: wine, cupcakes, put them together. It's great. But yeah, that's coming up July 26th.
Yep, July 26th,
So
noon to 4 p.m. or until the food runs out. I recommend you get there as it starts.
Yeah,
because the food does usually run out around 3, from what I've heard.
Okay, all right. So come by. It's at the Black Business Hub. It's right on the end of South Park Street, right? And you can't miss it. And it should be a good time as it always is. Nick, lots happening in the world of basketball.
Lots is. It's free agent signing time. The draft happened.
Well, we haven't even really touched base about the draft, other than that it was coming, and but our Wisconsin's own Kon Knueppel went fourth to Charlotte, which is the highest. I think we figured this out. That's actually the highest draft pick ever over Wisconsin native.
Really?
Yeah.
Have we been that bad for so long?
Well, not the University of Wisconsin. Although maybe it...
Not University of Wisconsin, but like it was
UW...
native Wisconsinite.
Right. Has the UW player ever gone higher than fourth, though, as far as you know, off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but there have been some in the top 10.
Yeah.
Where did Tyrese Halliburton sit? Because I still have a vendetta against him.
He was in the teens.
He's like middle of the first round.
Yeah.
And the highest Wisconsin native before that was Devin Harris.
Yeah, Wauwatosa's own Devin Harris.
Went fifth in 2004.
Yeah.
Right? That's correct. A long time ago now.
Now, I went all the way back to 1974 because basically my memory goes all the way to the 80s.
Yeah.
So I was able to tell Rob that Kon was the highest.
Yep.
I did not go back all the way to like the 40s and 50s and 60s drafts. So if anyone knows anyone who went higher than that, who's a native Wisconsinite,
Yeah.
Hit me with it because that's good trivia.
That's great trivia. But even if it's not, like, Kon Knueppel being the highest, that's pretty good trivia as it is, right? But also, as you mentioned, free agency is happening.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks.
Got Miles Turner.
That's right.
For like a 4-year deal or something like that?
Yeah, they signed the Pacers center, Miles Turner, who was balling in the playoffs. And he's going to be a big boost. They waived Damian Lillard, which they're getting excoriated for. Some people are saying it's disloyal. Dame did have a illness that he came back. A deep vein thrombosis. Oof. That he came back early from to play to help them win their playoff series with Indiana.
Yeah.
He ended up ripping his Achilles. But, Dame's in his mid-30s. He wasn't going to play next season. So the Bucks decided to just pay him to stay home. Although he can sign with another team. So it's not like, they're ending his career or anything. But he's not going to play this season. So I don't think it matters.
If I was getting paid $113 million to stay home, I would also do it.
Yeah, I'm fine making $22 million and not doing any work. And in fact, I might just retire after that.
Well, I mean, he's getting to that age, right? Kind of.
He is, but something that is making waves is that Giannis is reportedly, allegedly unhappy with this development, and that's got people feeling any type of way about it.
Yeah.
Giannis will never leave.
Right.
Despite what the rumors say multiple times per season. He's not going to leave. He does need support. Stop cutting his support. It's the only thing he's asking for.
Right. But is he happy about Miles Turner coming?
I'm sure he is. Next week, I will have on Madison 365 site here a more sprawling piece about the Knueppel family.
Okay.
All 5 of those brothers. Kon has 4 younger brothers, and they were all on the draft stage with him. And his younger brother, Cager, who's going to be in 11th grade at Wisconsin Lutheran High School, absolutely towered over Kon on the draft stage. Yeah, it was eye-opening. Like, he was at least 4 inches taller than Kon.
Really?
He has big hair, which makes him seem taller.
Yeah.
But just if you look where their faces were, I was like, whoa, like he's grown a lot. So,
and his name is Cager.
His name is Cager,
which literally means basketball player.
That is true.
Right?
That is true.
Do you know why that is?
Why his name is Cager?
No, why basketball players are called Cagers.
Did they used to play in like a steel cage, like a WWE kind of setup?
Yes. Very, very early in the history of basketball. This is my stupid dad trivia. Like, they couldn't decide what to do with out of bounds. So they actually put up, very briefly, this only lasted like a couple of years. But this is like pre-NBA. This is like when basketball was just getting started. They actually put a cage around the gym floor so that they wouldn't have to deal with out of bounds. But guys kept getting hurt against the cage. But basketball players became known as cagers at that point.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Is it? But they stopped doing last names after professions, I think in like the early 1900s.
Right.
Why? Okay.
But there was that's like going back to, small town newspaper. It was always like Viking Cagers defeat Monona, whatever. That was like the go-to headline word for instead of basketball team. You just call them the Cagers because that was like the colloquial word for any basketball player. So anyway, but they named their kid literally basketball player.
Wow, they're still caging some places. I think, like at Dane County Jail on the roof, you can play. They be balling, and they got the cage around so the guys don't fly off the top of the roof.
Yeah,
diving after the ball. There you go.
Yeah.
Can anyone play there?
No, you gotta
like reservation.
Be a resident. which I suppose we could arrange, Omar. I mean, you want to play.
If the city is really in need of money, I would imagine there's a pretty significant population of people that are willing to rent out the rooftop basketball court
at the jail. I like it.
Yeah. So we will have the Knueppel family story next week.
All right. Looking forward to that. I know you've spent a lot of time on that. You talked to their mom and
yeah, I feel like there's more to do with it, but
yeah.
We'll take what we can get.
Yeah. Well, and it's gonna. I mean, they got 4 more kids coming through. It's going to be a story for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to be following all those K kids, for a long time. The other sporting thing to mention is Forward Madison is terrible. They are currently in dead last place in USL League One, but you can't go worst to first unless you're worst. And they are worst right now. But
who turned that phrase? I've never heard that one before.
You never heard worst to first?
I've heard it.
I've never heard you can't be worst to first without being worst first.
That was me. That was 100%
okay.
me. I did that.
Well, you're right, but
yeah,
that is the phrase of diehard fans with horrible teams.
Yes, right, exactly. But they will begin their quest to go worst to first this weekend at Texoma, which I don't even know where that is exactly. It's like Texoma is like the border of Texas and Oklahoma, and the team there is is on the Texas side. I don't remember where in Texas they are. But so Saturday night, 7:30, ESPN Plus. You can watch Forward Madison begin their quest to get out of the very bottom of the league.
A combination of Texan and Oklahoman players sounds like a blowout to me. Like,
they're not. I don't know that they're actually Texans or Oklahomans.
Oh, okay.
They have actually a handful of decent players, but they were very bad to begin with, also. But they're in very good form right now.
Is relegation a thing in American leagues?
Not yet.
Not yet.
2028. That's coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. That was a very exciting thing announced a couple months ago. That the United Soccer League is right after the World Cup is here. They're going to get sanctioned for a Division I league, and they're going to take some of their, because right now, okay, to back up, our league is Division III, and then there's the USL Championship, which is technically Division II, and then MLS is a totally separate organization. That's Division I. So USL is going to create a Division I league. They've already apparently gotten, some sort of informal approval from USSF to sanction a Division I league. So that'll be the USL Premier League, and then they'll take like the top 12 or 14 teams from the championship, create Division I, and then have a Division II, and then we'll still be in Division III. But by next year, we're going to have like 20 teams in Division III, which is right now there's only 14. And then in 2028, they'll actually begin promotion relegation, which is not sure exactly how it's going to work, but basically, in theory, if Madison becomes good again, we could play our way into a higher division.
I mean, I think that would make U.S. soccer so much more interesting.
So much more interesting, so much more exciting, so much more at stake all the time.
I mean, you have like the dominant players in Europe coming over here to essentially retire.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Like Messi.
Ibrahimovic, Beckham, Rooney all came over here to retire.
Exactly.
In our top division, but if there's actually because there's nothing at stake, like you can't get bumped down.
It's like our NBA players playing for China,
right?
You know it's over when that's what you're doing. We want to thank ICE for providing the security during these soccer games. It's been amazing.
Oh yeah, the other soccer things happening. This Club World Cup is happening right now, which is, as you mentioned, ICE and CBB were proactively announcing on social media that they were providing security for these games, which people from around the world are coming to these games and seeing Border Patrol police like that, and they wondered why they couldn't sell any tickets to that tournament.
So what kind of security do they provide? So if you're like throwing popcorn or something, like they send you right back to your country or what?
Yeah, it's not like they take you to the little room at the bottom of the stadium. They actually deport you right back.
Out of the country.
There's going to be some foreign royalty that's going to be arrested and disappeared to El Salvador. It's going to cause the next World War. This is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. This is
the Gold Cup is happening now also on Sunday. Mexico and the United States will play again in the Gold Cup final, which is very exciting. Diego Luna came out of nowhere. Former USL player, by the way. Played for El Paso Locomotive for a couple years.
Is he really?
Diego Luna?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he plays for Real Salt Lake now, but he started his career with El Paso in the USL Championship. And he's come out of nowhere and scored twice in the semifinal on Wednesday. But the other thing you mentioned, ice. We're kind of all over the place on the soccer stuff. Former Madison goalkeeper Raquel Rosarena plays now for Las Vegas and is also the starting goalkeeper for Cuba, for the national team of Cuba, and did not actually sat out of a World Cup qualifying game because he didn't want to leave the United States because he wasn't sure he'd be able to get back in.
Ooh,
yeah, that's bad, right?
Yeah, I'm speechless.
But that's the situation we're in right now. And we got a World Cup coming next year. We got an Olympics in 2028. Like, is this actually going to happen or not? I mean, it's a problem.
I have a soccer question.
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake.
Yes.
I don't think a Spanish royalty blessed Salt Lake City's soccer team.
No, I think you're right. I think there is there's an European envy among United States soccer, right? So back when MLS started, 1996, they tried to Americanize the game, right? Meaning on the field, like they did penalty kicks like hockey, where you like dribble up and whatever. It's just stupid stuff like that, like the old NASL did. But they also named the teams like American teams, like the Kansas City Wiz and the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars and the Dallas Burn and stuff like that. And so then over time, they realized like Americans aren't going to catch this sport. They aren't going to care about the sport. So let's try to catch the immigrant fans. So they started to name them like FC Dallas. And
I mean, FC is acceptable at least.
Right, exactly. But then, Real Salt Lake, which is like you're trying to do like Real Madrid or which is it means royal, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean real. It means royal.
It's you've been acknowledged and blessed and knighted by Spanish royalty,
right? And Salt Lake City is not the place where you would necessarily.
No, I don't think anyone from Spain has ever been in Salt Lake City.
Probably not. But so it's basically a silly nod to European football. But also, we should say that the USL has adopted the naming conventions of the British EFL, the English Football League, which is to say, Division 1 is Premier, Division 2 is Championship, Division 3 is League One. And fourth division is League 2, which is amateur in the United States. But they named the women's league the Super League, which doesn't mean anything. It means the Super League in Europe is basically a league that you don't have to play your way into. It's one you can buy your way into, which is the case for all leagues here. But they needed to give the women's league a different name, so they just called it Super League, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And that is soccer talk. For Friday, July 4th. It's very exciting. There's actually a Real Salt Lake connection to Madison. 2 connections, because our head coach, Matt Glazer, was an assistant at Real Salt Lake, which is also where he got to know a kid named Chris Garcia, who joined the Real Salt Lake Academy when he was 15, and who is now a winger for Forward Madison, and a very good one. That's enough soccer. That's enough other stuff. And we're going to take a break, and we'll come back and talk more sports with Marlo Hicks, who is an alum of the University of Wisconsin crew rowing team. We'll be right back right after this. back, and we're here in Waunakee, Wisconsin, with Marlo Hicks. How you doing?
I'm doing well. All
right. Thanks for talking with us. Thanks for giving us the time. You are the owner of Fortify Fitness. Is that right?
Yep. Fortify Fitness Collective.
Yeah. Tell me about that. What does collective mean?
Well, so it's as opposed. We wanted to create a whole. When we say collective, like the whole sphere of fitness, right?
Oh, okay.
So not just the exercise, not just one, methodology, but rather everything that comes around the fitness. So we, consider everything from fitness, nutrition, recovery, all under one roof.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And you're from Chicago.
Yes.
I hear. And,
yeah.
Tell us how you managed, or tell us first of all, just about growing up in Chicago.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so I grew up, kind of on the suburbs outside Chicago.
Okay.
Actually a few times. The longer story is I moved around quite a bit as a youngster. So yeah, I grew up the suburbs of Chicago. I'm a Bears fan. But all right,
that's all the time we have.
But yeah, spent many years there. Played sports throughout.
Yeah.
As a youngster, baseball, football, basketball. Got into rowing in my later high school years. And then after graduating high school out of a suburb called Mundelein, Illinois, northern suburbs, ended up going to school here at UW.
And on the crew.
Yes, on the crew
right?
team, yeah. So I rode on the crew team there. Yeah.
How does one even get into that sport? I don't even know.
Great. Yeah, no, it was a great story. So actually, I got into it because it's like freshman year high school basketball. Like I made varsity. Like basketball was my sport.
Yeah.
Loved, played ball. Made varsity, but I got no run, got no play time. And so that's so after the season, I was like, Coach, like, what do we need to do? Get in. And it's basically like at the time, dude, I was, 6'2", $150, just a little string being out there. He's like, you need to get stronger. I need to get stronger. So I was like, all right. He's like, I think you should row crew. I'm like, whatever, coach. Like, whatever it is.
High school have a team?
What's that?
Was it like a high school crew team?
Yeah.
Really?
So they had a high school crew team, and like baseball was my spring sport. Like that was my love. But I gave it up because I was like, all right, if that's gonna get me on the basketball court, let's do it. So, I just basically started rowing to be better at basketball. Which it did work out for both, but it just happened so that I was, good at crew too. So yeah. So that's how I got into it.
And then that was your college sport then.
Yep.
Which is
So yeah, going into college, it was a tough decision whether to play ball or go row. Because I had a lot of it was mostly D3 offers, a couple like low level D1s like UW Milwaukee. But then I had my recruiting trip up here, Madison, and like I honestly took the recruiting trip because of my high school coach. Like it wasn't like Wisconsin wasn't even on my radar.
Huh.
Like why would I go up there? But I went up there just to like please my coach and like obviously like had a hell of a time.
Yeah.
And long and behold, when I got back and I realized like, oh, it's actually a good school. Everyone was surprised. Like, you took a trip to Wisconsin? Yeah, I don't know. It's like a good school. Yeah. So got kind of got to be an athlete. Got great education. So got best of both worlds there.
Now I think for a lot of people, the exposure to crew is like it's like curling every 4 years in the Olympics.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no.
And for what little exposure I've had, it doesn't appear to be the most diverse sport.
No, not at all. There's not the diverse sport at all. I mean, it's a very coast sport. Very big in the East Coast, very big in the West Coast. And yeah, like it's traditionally thought of as an elitist sport.
Oh, okay.
Sure. In that ilk, your Ivy Leagues, your country clubs. So there's that. But, we had a team, Wisconsin, our teams at the time were like 70, 80 men, it was me and another brother. And then he ended up leaving my freshman year, so it was just me after freshman year. So yeah, no, that it definitely was. And yeah, I could count on my hands how many times I looked over to another boat and there was someone else on there.
Yeah.
And at the time, 8 years of career from high school through college. So yeah, but to that point though, I stay in touch with the rowing community.
Yeah.
And there's definitely an initiative out there right now.
Really?
They're going. I know definitely down in Chicago where I rode at Lincoln Park Boat Club. There's a national, and I'm forgetting the name of the top of my head. I can like see the logo, but there is a push to get diversity out there to the point where like there's a big race out in Boston called the Head of Charles. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's big in the rowing community. It's very big out there, but it's like it's in the fall, and they get together a full black crew, so a full boat of 8. And plus the coxswain, so 9 total.
That's cool.
And row that race from people like all around the country. So it's really cool to see that stuff happen.
So what's different, I guess, in terms of fitness, in terms of the types of strength you have to be a crew, to row rather than as opposed to playing basketball? Yeah, no, it's much more of endurance and and it's like strength endurance to be specifically. So so like how. What it comes down to is how hard can you pull for how long, right? Can you do that longer and faster than the boat across from you, the person next to you? Yeah. So yeah, from a physical standpoint, it's really like it's a full body, but mostly like legs and back, so like your larger muscle posterior chain, that thing, and then highly endurance based. So for me, like when I was younger, it really helped with explosion, like so the jumping aspect, and then obviously like my cardiovascular endurance. Going back to the high school story, like when I came back, I remember one of the first practices back. We would do this full drill where we were supposed to take the dribble down, lay it up or whatever, and as little dribbles you can, right? Yeah. But anyways, I was going up and down court, and the first time I was doing the drill, I was going up, dunking it, running it, dunking it, and like just kept doing it. And the coach was like, "What the hell happened to you?" And I was like, "I took your advice." I was like, so really helped with the explosiveness, and then that cardiovascular endurance. I was just able to run through practices no problem, keep up in games, and that's awesome. Yeah. And then ended up actually, you had an opportunity. You could have played college basketball. Yeah, had you decided to. Yeah. It really came down to the decision. I think at the time, my father was a little upset. Oh, really? He wouldn't tell it out loud, but I bet if I asked him now, he was a little like, "Wish I played ball," but it all worked out for everybody. So is crew a sport that you kind of can stay involved with?
Yeah. There's definitely you definitely can if you have the time and energy.
Yeah.
There's some crews out. There's one Madison, the Mendota Rowing Club. They have called a Masters, so anyone that's outside of the college age range. But they do programs where you row row for fun. Yeah. Or you row for fun, or either there's actually like master competitions. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, what time period are we talking? When did you graduate UW?
Yeah, 2005. So okay. It was, whole one to 2005.
And then back to Chicago for a little while?
Yeah, I went back, moved into the city, living life.
Yeah.
That's actually a good story too, because like I remember my last stroke at the last race at IRAs, and I'm like, that's it, I'm done. Yeah. Never working out again. I was so burnt out at the time. I was like, because it's a grind. It's a year-long grind, especially here in Wisconsin. Like the lake freezes over. And we're just indoors, just grinding away. So yeah, it was a grind. So like, I was tapped out. I thought I was like at the time, 20 something years old. I know everything. Like I did the most workout I've ever needed to do in my life. I don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I moved to Chicago, was living the life. Had the job, was doing the thing, and like just was like, I'm never working out again. And I actually didn't for like 3 years, pretty close to 3 years. Yeah. Didn't do anything.
That's a nice long recovery period.
Yeah. Very long recovery period.
And then you find your way back here.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, I ended up, when I moved to Chicago, was working downtown and whatnot. And in some period of time, from there, I had met my wife, and she's originally from, we met in college, and so she's originally from the area in Spring Green, and so the plan was always to move back at some point, but we thought it'd be much later. So we ended up, when our first child was born in 2016, which was great. We were living life in the city again, but once he started running around our little condo we're living on a busy street, and we're like, we need more space, and we should probably be somewhere safer. And it's like, well, if we're going to stay in the city, we need to make more money, a lot more money. It's coming in right now. And and so we ended up moving back to this way to be around, closer to family and have that life.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And that was what?
That was 2018.
2018?
Yeah, summer of 2018.
All right. And did you settle here in Wanakee or in
Yeah. Yep. Started here in Wanakee.
So then pandemic happens.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, are you working out again?
Oh, yeah. I got back. So I started working. Like I said, I gave it like a 3-year hiatus.
Yeah.
And I got back into it. And this is kind of the story of, how I got back into it. Was really my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time.
Uh-huh.
I was sitting there complaining to her about myself and my body and like feeling like crap. And, I guess that's what I really like somewhere in there. I realized she got me back in the gym. She literally was like, I'm tired of hearing this. She signed me up for a CrossFit class.
Nice.
It was like, hey, you're going.
Yeah.
Walked in, fell in love, like felt like I was right, I was part of the team, like, felt back. And that's when I realized, growing up a whole life, I was moving and I was doing fitness, but I was doing it for a purpose and someone telling me, right? I saw, I was like, playing basketball, I'm playing football, I'm doing all this. And it was like thing. And obviously I like lost all that structure, lost like the reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
But realized that like, it was holding a lot of stuff back, like, from a mental capacity, not just from a physical capacity, but like a mental capacity, like, emotional capacity. There were all those things were keeping me in check. And, so when I, got back into it, a few years later, and then I was feeling good. And then like, I realized like, again, from that point that like not a lot of people, there's a big part of the population that either goes through the same thing I do, kind of that identity crisis.
Yeah.
Or they never had that. Right.
Yeah.
And this is something that they need that structure. They need to like have that there. And so that's what got me into like coaching.
Okay.
Actually coaching was that kind of light bulb moment.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to be able to show people a path to, health and wellness, right. That they might not get everywhere else,
mm-hmm.
or, have that thing. So, that's what got me into it. So I had been coaching for a bit. We moved up here, in 2018. And then I was doing I'd be like coaching at a gym on the side. I was doing business development for a local startup here in Madison,
mm-hmm.
like my day job, but 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I was doing that. So sort of in that time, I always had that dream of like, hey, what if I opened a gym? That'd
mm-hmm.
be cool. Like get to do this thing. But it was always like, what if?
Yeah. And then an opportunity kind of came along.
Yeah. So I was coaching 2 different gyms, again, doing my job at the startup, and 2020 hit. February 2020 hit.
Yep.
The gyms got shut down.
Yep.
We get sent home from work, and where I was working at was our product was in sleep studies, which is an elective, right? So those weren't happening.
Oh, sure.
So like we're kind of at home, just like, all right, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing Zoom classes for the gym, which was awful, if anyone remembers that.
Yeah.
And so just had a lot of time to think. And while, as that kept going on, my first thought was like, I'm just going to, I'll build this out, start training people out of my gym, or out of my garage gym.
Yeah.
Kind of personal training, and build it up from there. And what ended up happening was once the ban was lifted or whatever, like gyms were reopened, allowed to come back in. A gym here in Wanakee, the one I was working at, decided they didn't, want to come back from that. So there was a hole in the market all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it took me like 12 hours to think about it. And I was like, I think it's about the time to open the gym. Like if any time, it's like, if any time's the time, this might be the time. If I don't do it now, I probably never do it.
Yeah.
So just hopped on that. So we were able to, open up a gym.
In the kind of the same space that
it's the same space.
Same stuff.
Yeah, same space. Was essentially bought the assets, all the equipment from them. Started up this new business. we're sitting in this space right now.
Yeah.
But we cleaned this space up a little bit, put our branding on, put some holes in the wall, change some things out. It's a little different than what it was then. But yeah, essence in this building was that gym, but we made it our own here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it slow starting? Because this is like summer 2020.
Summer 2020.
Especially around
July of 2020.
People were still like, it took, at least in Dane County, like, you couldn't have more than 3 people in the same room or whatever for like a year and a half.
Yeah. So to begin with, we were limited to 8. I think 8 or 10. I can't remember the time. It was like 8 or 10 with the space we had. We had little boxes taped on the floor. So like people had to stay in those boxes. Yep. Got to work out inside of those. Yeah. I remember though, like a big part of that early days was like the fact that like people, it wasn't even wasn't even like the workout, but like that they got to see other people.
Oh, interesting.
Like this hour was the hour that they got to like get out their house, see other people other than the grocery store.
See
but
somebody
like,
not on a screen.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a huge part of it. Yeah, and I remember too that one of the biggest moments of opening up, it was day 2. Literally just the second day we were open right before our noon class. The press release hits of the Dane County mandated mask mandate.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought to myself, what am I doing? what am I doing? Oh my goodness. But it hit, I came out, we did a class and like, it was just one of those hurdles, right? Yeah. When I was ready to get by, like we went through that. But here we are, still here.
Still made it.
Yeah.
Now during that time, and since that time, I think it feels to me like a lot of attitudes and habits sort of changed. Do you think people in like maybe the year or 2 after that, like when people started coming back and stuff?
Yeah.
Does this sort of, and this is totally open question, I don't even know. But has attitude toward health and fitness generally shifted since you started and since before you started, in the space?
Yeah. So there's definitely like, there was a wave, right? So like that first, our year 2, there's a lot of people that were like, who we like, were on it right before things changed, got comfortable at home. They came into like, everything went, I don't know. I keep trying to swear, but I'm not going to. Everything went to crap. And I need to get back on pace, right? Yeah. And I was kind of thinking there was a lot of people who made a lot of bad habits, right, in that time, right? Becoming sedentary, eating the wrong things, a lot of drinking. Just those like bad habits were formed. And you need to get back on it. Then there was this another subset of people that, like, when that hit, that they took that time, like I have this time to give to myself, right? And they would start to work on themselves, and they just needed that next step, right? They took a journey as far as they could on their own, and they needed that guidance and the help, right, to take that next step. So, the short answer is there's definitely a shift where people are more like mindful, of health and wellness, what they can do for themselves, and and what needs to be done for that, and really the investment in themselves that they need to take.
And now you're celebrating 5 years now. All of a sudden,
all of a sudden, it does. I've been saying it, for the past year or so or 6 months, where I'm like, man, it'll be 5 years and such, and every time I say it, it hits me like crazy. I don't know why. It's like the 5 years seems like big. It seems like I can't say I'm new anymore. You hit that threshold. It's like, we've been doing this. At the same time, I can't believe it. I can remember those days of like those first couple days, their first weeks, months leading up to it. But it's been amazing. Like we have an awesome community. Yeah. There's still a big chunk here that's been here since day 1.
Oh yeah.
So. We'll call them our day oneers. So, but yeah, it's been an awesome ride. And
you got something planned?
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing a nice little 5-year celebration here at the gym, July 12th.
Okay.
So we're gonna have food. We're gonna have bouncy house for the kids.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna talk about, we're gonna celebrate the members, the people that are here now, as well as the people that were here before. Let us get to this point. I obviously have an amazing staff. can't do this alone.
Yeah.
That, I've had to get to this point as well. So we're going to celebrate all that, and have a good time hanging out.
Yeah. What advice do you have for somebody who like you were like I've been since high school, when you have to work out to get good at your sport or whatever it is you're trying to do, and now you don't have that, and now it's just for your own health.
Yeah.
How do you do you have any specific advice for somebody to be motivated to be beyond just like do it for yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. First, I guess the first thing I say is I'll talk through there's how my path went, right? Mm-hmm. Like you say, I mean, it started off, had this goal of getting better at sport, right? Sports leads to this, right? And as I took the hiatus, I came back, and then it was just about feeling like part of something again. Do that for myself. After my first child, then it was about, okay, I want to be able to show them what this looks like, as well as be around later, right? And be able to play ball with him when he's when he's that age, and maybe even their grandkids. And as I get older and they get older too, I want to be able to be the dad that can still run around. Mm-hmm. I can still run around with them. So that's all to say is having an anchor. We talk about this, having an anchor of what brings you back. So your why of why you're doing it, and it's different for everyone. But it can change over time as well as mine did. But what is this that you're truly doing? Yeah, you're doing it for yourself, but why, right? What is that's going to keep you there, right? Again, we have people here that are, grandparents, and they just want to be able to be active with their grandkids for as long as possible. Yeah. We have mothers, fathers who want to, their kids are very active. They want to be part of that too. We have we have other people that aspire to do things in athletics, but really what it comes down to is what is it that's important to you? Find that out, and then use that as your anchor to keep you going. Cause there's going to be times where you're going to be F this, I don't want to do it. I'm tired. I'm achy. I can just sit here on this couch, or I can just, keep scrolling on my phone.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of things we talk about is making that a binary question, right? Is it, once you have your goal anchor, is making the decisions based on, is this going to get you close to your goals? Yes or no. There's no maybe, there's no kinda, there's no sorta. It's yes or no. And no is okay as long as you have a reason behind it, right? And you know your reason. And
you're acknowledging.
You're acknowledging it, right? But then you're just getting back on track right after that, right? Mm-hmm. So, the whole thing is don't want to beat yourself up, give yourself some grace, but at the same time keep yourself accountable. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the culture here, is we want to help that with that accountability piece and march you towards your goals.
All right, Marlo Hicks, appreciate the time today. July 12th coming out. What's that, 315 Ramish Road, is that right?
Yeah, 315 Ramish Road, Wanakee. We'll be out here, starting at 11, going till whenever. Going until.
All right, thanks again. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back, and we're going to finish with our roundtable question, as we often do. The question comes from our erstwhile producer and my current brother, Nate Chappell's podcast, Several Questions. I'm going to give him credit for this question. The question is, what is your favorite piece of obsolete technology?
Pen and paper.
Is that obsolete?
I mean,
you have a notebook right in front of you with.
You're
pen.
literally writing in it right now.
I know. For all the options, I mean, you have notebook replacements that are actually very sleek and usable, completely electronic. You have laptops. You have your phones. I see young reporters doing all their notes on the phone. It's how do you remember that? If I need to remember something, it has to be physically written down. Past that, I love film cameras, and I have quite a few of them. Unfortunately, some of the batteries have been discontinued.
Oh, no.
So
that makes it obsolete, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just pure definition obsolete.
Yep.
Who was it? It was either Dave Zwiefel or Neil Heinen who turned to me once and was like, "Are you taking notes on your phone?" As I was like covering something, and I was like, "Yeah." Like, what else would I be doing? And they were like, "Wow."
You just have a litter of notebooks. I got just one.
Yeah, I have a bunch in my desk. I have like in my backpack at any given time, I have probably 4 half-burned notebooks, reporters' notebooks.
I got those. I got the actual reporters' notebooks. I've been liking these small ones lately.
Those are nice.
These are nice.
Yeah,
I've been enjoying these quite a lot.
They
don't have so many pages, but also the last reporters' notebooks we ordered did not have the hardback, which is less fun.
You like that?
I prefer the hardback.
You prefer the stiff ones?
How can you write with this? It's just. You try
Listeners
to
just
pinch it, and sometimes it works for a little bit, but when you get further down into it, the weight distribution is different, and it just flops all the time.
It just bends when you try to write in it when you're holding it, as Omar's demonstrating here, which listeners cannot see. What about you, Nick?
My favorite piece of obsolete technology. I don't know that it's technology, but I have. I'm saving them for a rainy day, but I have like VHS tapes of like the 90s Bulls championships, like the actual telecast but I don't have a VHS player. So, I have all of these videotapes.
So you have to go to like a thrift store or something and buy a VCR for $5?
Something.
Mm-hmm.
You better get it before VHS makes like a popular resurgence, which hundreds of dollars,
which could happen.
Which could happen. I mean, that happened with vinyl for a minute there.
Yeah,
that's true.
Speaking of that, is that my favorite obsolete technology? Is vinyl? Maybe, I don't know.
Is it obsolete? I mean, you can still get some good record players, and
yeah, it's not entirely obsolete, but one of the maybe one of my favorite things that was technological at a certain moment that has since become obsolete there's just a ton of toys that were electronic and wanted to be futuristic in like 1982. Like Simon, you remember Simon? You don't remember? Not if you remember Simon. It was this thing that would had different colored lights on it, and it would light up and beep in a pattern, and you'd have to like push the buttons to repeat the pattern.
Oh, the Simon Says.
Yeah. Actually, my favorite piece of obsolete technology is the Atari 2600.
Wow.
Yeah, which is like the old video game systems that would plug into your TV that were never online. There was just 8-bit. Like there was a whole one that was the Video Olympics was like one, it had like 70 different games in it, but they were all basically just variations of Pong. So like they had basketball in quotes, and they had volleyball, and they had hockey, but it was all just little rectangles moving around and a smaller rectangle bouncing between them in various forms, right? But that said, my kids are very into video games, playing Minecraft and Fortnite and all these things, and I did The Last of Us, both parts of The Last of Us twice, but like my peak video gaming was like Tempest in like 1989. Like that's the one game I actually got good at. Which anybody older in my age, do you remember Tempest?
I don't.
Yeah, so it's probably just people just older than you but younger than me might remember Tempest. Fantastic game, look it up. But that's where I peaked, and that's my obsolete technology is any video games that were that simple. They're not complicated. There's no story. You need one little joystick and one little button, and that's it. All right, folks, enjoy your holiday weekend. Happy birthday, America, once again. We'll talk to you next week. 365 Amplified is produced and edited by me, Rob Chappell, and is a production of 365 Media Foundation, a nonprofit, local, independent media organization in Madison, Wisconsin. Wherever you're listening to this right now, hit the subscribe or follow button to get new episodes every Friday. And between episodes, get your latest news at madison365.org and and follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. Wherever you get your news, we'll be there.